Hello, Dr. C.L. Patil, Department of English, CCAB ARS Inamdar, Arts, Science and Commerce College, and PG Center for Women, Vijaypur. This is part 3 of Paradise Lost, Book 1, a brief analysis. The impact of Renaissance, Reformation, Puritanism, and humanism can be seen reflected in Milton's poetry. So also in his greatest epic, Paradise Lost. Milton was greatest leader of the Reformation movement in England, and he was often referred as the child of Renaissance and Reformation. The theme of Paradise Lost is basically of human interest with human significance and happiness. Paradise Lost, Book 1, Milton begins following all the epic conventions of the classical poets like Homer, Virgil, Dante, and Edmund Spenser. He begins with the invocation of Muse, the goddess of poetry, and seeks inspiration in the true spirit to complete the epic. He proposes to write an epic of high standard on a sublime subject, never attempted by any poet prior to. He invokes the divine spirit because it alone knows the secret of the creation of this universe. Milton asserts his intention of writing this epic, quote, to justify the ways of God to man, unquote. He then comes out with the explicit description of the hell where Satan the angel and his followers were confined by God after the throwing out from heaven, because he was defeated by God for waging war against him with his followers to prove his might over God. Hell in the poem is described as a fiery gulf, a lake of molten fire, the place which is gloomy and miserable, lit with sulphurous fire. This was the eternal prison of Satan and his followers, who lay there losing and tossing in the enraged flames of hell. Satan and his followers had not lost their angelic powers. Satan raised his head from the flames to assess the entire region and saw Beelzebub lying close to him, second in command. He stirred up Beelzebub from his state of unconsciousness and sought to encourage, make confident, and inspire him to renew the battle against Almighty. Satan says to Beelzebub that they should not surrender themselves to God even though they have been defeated, and further says to him that the field is lost, all is not lost. And true defeat comes only when one dishonorably falls on his knees and seeks apology from his enemy. And finally says that they would never succumb to God, never accept his authority, and follow his good path advised by him. They then decide to unite the fallen angels, discuss the matter, and then decide the future course of their action and their strategy by mutual discussion and agreement. Satan and Beelzebub rise from their fiery lake and survey the dismal region around them. This dark and lifeless region reminds them of the beautiful celestial heaven from where they had been driven away forever. The contrast between the heaven they had lived and the hell, the present place they had to leave, puts them into anguish and rage. But Satan still retains his uncompromising spirit, undefeated will, and thought. Here is the place where he could rule supreme. On Satan's call, all the foreign angels arise from their sleep and gather around their great leader, Satan. Milton enumerates the more important of them and the most important of them in ranking: Beelzebub, Chemos, Astoreth, Thomas, Rimmon, Belial, and a host of his followers. All of them were looking disappointed, dejected, and distressed. Satan, addressing them as princes, warriors, and myriads of the immortal spirits, asked them whether they have finally resigned themselves to their fallen state. He asked them to come together, regain their lost splendor and glory, not by open war with the Almighty, but by some clever strategy and planning. Then he informed them that God Almighty was going to create a new world and implant there a new race of beings called man. He suggested that by some trick or foul play, they should win over this race of man to their side and be adored by them as their gods. This proposal of Satan was loudly commanded and accepted by the legions of devils and raised their sword to approve. Thereupon, Satan invites them to assemble in the Pandemonium for complete discussion and consensus. All the devils rushed to the Pandemonium and found themselves that the space in Pandemonium was too less. Therefore, they reduced themselves to a smaller size and shape to adjust themselves in the hall. Thus, the Great Council begins. Milton, in this book, one of the epic, describes Satan as a mixed character with evil passions, in which good still lingers. However, at the end, Satan turns out to be an evil incarnate. Please like this video, share it, and subscribe it. Thank you.